Okay, okay. We're live on BourbonBlog Live. We have some great friends from Gruppo Montenegro joining us tonight. It is Marco Montefiori, Director of Business Development, Cristina Berardi. She is the Select Apertivo Ambassador for the Americas, and also Tad Carducci is the Montenegro Amaro American Brand Ambassador. Welcome to all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. We've been a big fan of your products for a long time, and during the pandemic, we've been experimenting with whiskeys and ryes and bourbons and all the great things that we can do with Montenegro, and there's so much more to your portfolio too, which I've really enjoyed. I think a lot of people joining us know about who Montenegro is, but give us the overview. Whoever wants to give us the overview, just as who you are as a company.
Okay, if you don't mind, I would like to spend a couple of words. So, as you can tell, my English is horrible because I am an Italian native speaker. So I bring a little bit of authenticity to the company. So Montenegro first is a great company. It's a company that I deeply love. It's a family-owned company based in Bologna, founded in 1885. At this time in the US, we have a subsidiary named Montenegro Americas, and we have 10 different kind of SKUs at the moment. We have Amaro Montenegro, that is our main brand. Then we have Select Apertivo, that is one of my favorite brands. Then we have Vecchia Romagna, that is a fabulous brandy made from Trebbiano di Romagna, that was founded was founded exactly 200 years ago in 1820. Then we have Rosantique, that is a Vermouth that is going to arrive in a couple of months in the American market. With Vecchia Romagna, we have two different kind of vintage. We have the Etichetta Nera. In Italy, when you refer to Etichetta Nera, to Vecchia Romagna, you refer always to Etichetta Nera. And then we have a Tre Botti, that is a blend of three different casks made from limousine oak barrel, Italian barrel that we use for aging red wine. So it's a really interesting product that is available in few states, but by the end of the year, it's going to be available across the country. And that's it. I don't have anything else to add.
It's all such great stuff. It really is. And I had not tried the brandy until just recently. With the brandy, you're actually celebrating 200 years this year, right?
Yeah. So for European standard, it's a startup. It's a really brand new company. So it was founded 200 years ago. So it's a brand full of heritage and full of history.
Excellent. And of course, we've been using the Montenegro for a while in cocktails, and we've spent time with you all in New York and down in New Orleans at Tales doing some events. And over the pandemic, I'll have to say, one of my favorite drinks during the pandemic has been this, we found it online, this coffee called the Venetian Coffee with rye whiskey and coffee liqueur and Amaro Montenegro, little simple syrup, and it's fabulous stuff. I've tried other Amaros in it, and I'll have to say the Montenegro is by far my favorite in this coffee with the rye whiskey, and I love it. But I love what it does in so many cocktails. Who wants to go next? I mean, there's so many great things. Do we want to taste each of them? Is there a certain order that we should taste them in? What would you recommend?
Well, so, I mean, certainly, if we are going to do a formalized sort of tasting, then for sure, Cristina should start us off with Select Apertivo, because it's meant to be the opener. It's meant to stimulate appetite and conversation.
That is true. And it's the essential ingredient in the original Venetian Spritz, which is what I'm drinking here. And that is the quintessential before dinner drink in Italy.
Absolutely.
Absolutely one of my favorites. It's definitely not bourbon based, so my apologies, but it's so good.
We like to mix things up, and I really enjoy spritzes as well. Tell us about the Select Apertivo. Tell us about this.
Right. So Select Apertivo was created in 1920 in Venice by the Pila brothers. I think it's really interesting right now, to be honest with you, now that, we're 100 years later, right? these brothers really wanted to contribute to the economic and social rebirth of their city in post-war period. And I feel like there's kind of a parallel happening right now. We're coming out of hard economic times. And this is a drink that, or an aperitivo that's meant to be drank in a way that's for slow moments with good conversation, family, friends. So I think it's a really great time to celebrate Select Apertivo and the Spritz, and it's also our 100-year anniversary this year. So we were created in Venice, in the heart of Venice, the Castello district, at Pila Distilleries. And for the last 100 years, Select has been the classic Venetian aperitif and the essential ingredient in the Venetian Spritz. The name was coined by Italy's most notorious writer, Gabriele D'Annunzio, just shortly after its inception at a very prestigious dinner. And he chose to praise the product by holding it up in the air and, you know, coining the name Select, which is short for Selectus, which at the time Latin was, you know, the primary language, meaning selected or chosen. So that being said, it has been Italy's one of Venice's most iconic products to this day. And it is classified as a bitter aperitivo liqueur. And as Tad said, that means it's a pre-dinner drink. It's a whole category of spirit meant to open up your palate. It's not limiting to that, just that. We'll get there in a minute. But it's honestly probably one of the most interesting spirits I've tasted in a very long time. And it's made from 30 botanicals, a heavy presence of juniper berry, which you'll get that on the nose. And then we blend that with 30 other botanicals. Your smoky, bitter component is going to come from rhubarb for the most part. But we kind of hit every part of your palate with the spirit. So you're going to get notes of like white florals, bright citrus, some grassy vegetal notes, balsamic notes. And when we say balsamic, we don't mean vinegar. We do mean piney and foresty, just beautiful, beautiful, elegant notes of that, and a little bit of spice. I'll taste some cinnamon, cardamom. The most interesting thing that jumps out to me is usually the ginger, which brings almost a tropical element to it. So that being said, it is incredibly versatile. While it is the classic pre-dinner drink at 17.5% ABV, it allows you to really do a lot with it. So anything that calls for a bitter and aperitivo, especially when we're talking about mixing, it's a great, great, beautiful spirit to mix with. It honestly, I haven't met one base spirit that doesn't blend well with this. Whiskey is definitely a favorite for me here. And also, if you do like coffee blends very, very well Select. So that being said, we've hit most of the talking points. There is a lot of history here, and I don't really want to bore anyone too much, but we do have a lot of, honestly, I think the most interesting thing about our bottle is how we combine all of our history into it. So we were created in 1920. You can see a little bit about our history on the back of the bottle, but most people don't know this. Right after during World War II, we were bombed, and our production facilities were moved to the island of Murano. So our bottle at this point definitely reflects the glass of the island of Murano, and our label is almost identical to the original, and our recipe is always authentic.
Yeah, I love the bottle. I love how the and it's been happening for a while, but this resurgence of older cocktails and just the popularity of Italian spirits across the board has really grown the last 5 or 10 years. What do you all attribute that to? Do you just for you, Cristina, or for any of you?
Personally, for me, I'm not as Italian as Marco, but I still have a lot of family back there, and I think the difference is travel has been accessible up until recently. I think that's one contributing factor. But two, when we adopt the idea of slowing down as Americans, we almost embody what Italian culture is about.
Right.
You know, as we start to slow down and enjoy our moments, enjoy our relationships, everything's been transitioned to this online aspect. And I think we started to savor that more like personable in the moment experience. That's really good.
And I would add to that a couple things. Italians are so passionate about tradition and family and friends and gathering and hospitality, and it's always undeniably linked to food and to the table.
Right. And
Italians know very well how to drink to complement food. They know how to drink before, they know how to drink during, and they know how to drink after. And it's always the food first, with the drink sort of coming secondary, but also immeasurably important. And if we look back at our cocktail history, American cocktail history, Italian products have been there since day one. Mostly by way of vermouth, but the most classic American cocktails would not be what they are if it weren't for Italian products that had already been around for a couple of centuries. So I think those things combine, and this kind of love and idea of Italian craft and things being artisanally made and things being like curated and made beyond kind of perfection speaks to the quality. And I think as Americans, we're finally, every demographic almost seems to be about quality over quantity. So,
right. Yeah. Marco, what do you think? Obviously, you've seen it really grow in a big way. What do you think?
I think what is a cultural skills. In Italy, we have really a big passion for products. So we like to be fully dedicated in the production. You think about design, automotive, fashion. We have really high standard of products. And in the last 10 years, there is a renaissance for the Italian liquors, but it's been one of the latest category of Italian products that has been discovered. Because if you think wine is discovered in the 80s, fashion has been discovered in the 70s, design has been discovered in the 80s as well. At the beginning of 2000, there was a big renaissance of Italian spirits with Amaro, Aperitivi, all these kind of products. And in the foreign markets, I mean foreign from an Italian point of view, I mean Europe, I mean London in particular, and also United States. There is a big passion for this kind of category of products. Consider that in Italy we have more than 250 independent distilleries. So distillation is really a part of our DNA. Whenever you think about the Italian landscapes, people think about vineyards. But for example, I am from Milan. Milan, we have a lot of distilleries. Milan is a city with 1.2 million people, and we have 7 major distilleries, including Amaro Montenegro, that is 180 kilometers far away from Milan. It is 120 miles in the beautiful city of Bologna. So in that part of Italy, distillation is really a part of our culture. And now it's getting really trendy, and I'm really happy that when I go to a liquor store, I can see a fully dedicated section to Italian spirits, in particular to Amaro Montenegro, to Select, and in the short future also to Vecchia Romagna, Rosantique. So it's a big opportunity.
Oh yeah, and it's exciting to see how much it's grown and just how beautiful your products are. The more I taste the Select, it's the mouthfeel. No, it's not only the flavor; it's the mouthfeel. It's just really nice, velvety, soft mouthfeel. That when you compare this to other aperitivos, I mean, this is something very special.
It is very special, and you notice it evolving on your palate the more you taste and smell.
I think the greatest thing about all of the spirits in the portfolio. We've worked very hard to create balance, and balance, like all things in life, is critical. And especially with Select and with Amaro Montenegro, the balance of sweet, bitter, herbaceous, spicy is just so on point and so perfect that as drinking either of them on their own or adding them into cocktails, that it makes them so dynamic and so so unique as well.
Yes. Obviously, the spritz is so perfect with this. My wife and I discovered the spritz several years ago on an Italian cruise, actually, and we've always enjoyed different twists on the spritz. I can't wait to try it with the Select. That'll be really good. Any whiskey cocktails, Cristina, that you recommend with the Select?
Just very simply, the Boulevardier is always a great one.
Yep.
And I honestly would switch out the sweet vermouth for Montenegro in that as well. Paper thin, same idea. I mean, it's really endless. It really is endless. I've been liking a variation of Boulevardier with a little bit of a coffee liqueur, Select, and a bourbon that's just a little bit more rye and it's mixed. But that's just me right now.
Right. So you would do that rather than doing a vermouth. You would still do the Campari, but then you would do the Select.
I would use Select instead of Campari.
Okay. Oh, Select instead of Campari, and then use the vermouth.
Or use Montenegro instead of the vermouth, because it's got a little bit more sweetness to it. It's got some body. It adds a really beautiful flavor. Coffee bitters added to that. That's a good after dinner drink for me.
Excellent. So we could do Montenegro, Select, and whiskey, and that's a Boulevardier right there.
Yeah. Honestly, you can make a variation of that with all three of these ingredients and have a perfect cocktail.
Very nice. I like it. I like it.
And Tom, actually, you have all of them, so you can do it.
I'm going to try it. I'm going to try the Boulevardier. Do you have a name for that one?
Do we have a name for that, Ted?
Let's think on the fly. It should be something probably related to Tom, don't we think here? So that we push. The Bourbon Bloggerino.
But yeah, you got it. Hey, I realized
Bloggerino. I like the
Bloggerino because now
blog in Italiano.
That's right. I'm the only one that doesn't have an I on the end of my name up here. So if you can give BourbonBlog an Italian name, I like it. Then I can kind of be Italian.
Sorry,
how do you say blog in Italian? Is it just blog?
How do you say what?
Blog.
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 There is no translation.
I like the Bloggerino.
Yeah.
Bloggerino, I like it. Bourbon Bloggerino. So, it's great. You guys are fun. Okay, so again, everybody watching, if you're just joining us, it's BourbonBlog Live, and we're speaking with our friends from Gruppo Montenegro about all their spirits. Which one do we want to taste next? Which one do you recommend next?
I say we go to Montenegro.
Okay,
it's time for Montenegro.
All right.
I'm ready for a Montenegro.
I'm ready for Montenegro.
I am always ready for a Montenegro.
Absolutely.
So Montenegro is an Amaro, and for those who aren't all that well versed, my kind of standard boilerplate definition for Amaro: bittersweet herbal liqueur.
Yes.
That's the easiest way to define it. You want to take it a step further: bittersweet herbal liqueur, traditionally consumed to aid in digestion. So that kind of covers the bases. Essentially what we have is botanicals, and when I say botanicals, I mean herbs, spices, barks, fruit peels, roots, seeds, flowers, woods, all of which, all kinds of things that grow from the ground that provide either aromatics or flavor, steeped into alcohol, generally with sweetness added to balance out all the bitterness and the savory and the herbaceous, and more often than not, colored with burnt sugar.
Okay.
To give a very just sort of deep, rich color, very, very traditional. Now, most Amari really started, or the idea started thousands of years ago with medicinally infused wines. So all of these same botanicals that you find in Amaro Montenegro, in Braulio, in Fernet Branca, in Lucano, and all these different types and styles of Amaro, are potent medicines, and were drunk as tonics and elixirs and curatives and preventatives on a daily basis. And over the years, as these different formula were created for different types of ailments, from blood diseases to or diseases of the organs to all different things, different flavor profiles emerged. And again, that's where that sugar came in to kind of the sweetness to balance it out. And then over the years, slowly they became less medicinal and more social and recreational. And it carried all the way through to vermouth in the 16 and 1700s. And then with the advent, or with the commercialization of distillation, being able to create a very, very high quality distillate that can be done consistently and could become a vehicle for all of the botanicals. The Amaro category was sort of born, I would say, in the beginning of the 1800s. So Amaro Montenegro, as Marco said, was born in 1885 in the city of Bologna, which is a magnificent, magnificent city in the heart of Emilia Romagna. It's the home to the oldest university in the world, the University of Bologna. It's, Marco talked about a passion for products and things well made. Ducati, Lamborghini, Ferrari, all right in the area, so they know what they're doing in terms of making things. But a very cool, cosmopolitan, very well-heeled city. And the creator of Amaro Montenegro was a student, was a son of a prominent family in Bologna. Very bright kid, like a tinkerer, amateur alchemist and botanist, and essentially after high school, he took off on a ship and sailed around the world for a couple of years. And what he did, in the midst of having experiences and understanding and learning different cultures, he started, he kept a notebook and a journal, and he started writing down different botanicals that he would find in different parts of the world, and then came back, brought together all of these botanicals from around the world, combined them, married them really with indigenous or endemic Italian herbs to create something very special. I mean, something very, very Italian, but also very kind of global and worldly at the same time. So Amaro Montenegro is 40 different botanicals, again, from around the world. About a dozen of them are publicly disclosed. I know the rest of them, and I accept Venmo if anybody is interested. But things like, as far as Italian ingredients go, oregano and marjoram, things that we would commonly associate with Italian cuisine. Other herbs and very aromatic things like coriander seeds. Then we have Montenegro. Always, anybody who tastes Montenegro, there's always a very heavy spice element: cinnamon, nutmeg, cloves, things of that nature. Yeah. And everybody gets some orange peel as well. Where did my? I didn't grab my orange peels. We use 3 different types of oranges. These dried bitter oranges, another dried orange, and then these little tiny Noto oranges, which are here, and really perfumey and aromatic. So a lot of citrus profile as well. And then the bitterness from Amaro Montenegro, which in my opinion is just perfectly balanced, comes primarily from Artemisia, a few or 4 different types of Artemisia or wormwood. The same thing that makes vermouth, the same thing that made people purportedly go nuts when they drank absinthe. But Artemisia is a very cool plant. There are about up to 400 different varieties of it that grow around the world and throughout Europe. And it grows in alpine climates, it grows in subalpine climates, temperate climates, and about a dozen, maybe somewhere between a dozen and 20 varieties are used either culinarily or medicinally, and very potent medicine. It was written about by Hippocrates and others, before Christ, in ancient Greece. Always been a very potent antiseptic and fever reducer and things like that. But it provides this really beautiful kind of earthy bitterness. Yeah.
It's that the earth, the sweetness, the bitterness, everything together is just so well balanced.
Yeah, and I love Amaro. I've been working with Amaro for years. I've worked with, I've been very fortunate to be able to work with a wide variety of Amaro producers and visit the families that make the products in Italy. And there's such a huge range of flavors present, and levels of bitterness, levels of alcohol, levels of sweetness. But for my money, Montenegro has always been that one that's so unique and so singular that I can take. I've tried this many times and I've never failed. I can take literally anybody, put them in a blind tasting with 10 different Amari, and have them call out Amaro Montenegro 10 times out of 10. Right. Because it's so distinct, and it's so layered. There's all kinds of floral aspects. The orange is there, the cinnamon is there, the lemony kind of coriander bite, and then on the palate with the Artemisia, you get this kind of floral, elegant, slightly dusty bitterness that's not overwhelming, and you get just enough sweetness up front, and then it all cleans up and I'm going to stop talking about it and just drink something.
Cheers. Yes, it's just such a beautiful spirit. And for those of you that are watching that have tried it, you know how good it is. If you've never tried Amaro Montenegro, it's so good with whether it's by itself on the rocks. Favorite cocktails that you put it in? You have any favorites?
Well, of course.
You might. That's why.
Of course. The one that I probably drink most often is one we call the M&M, Montenegro and Mezcal in equal parts.
I love it.
In equal parts, either as a shot or on the rocks. It's fantastic. All of the savory herbaceousness of Montenegro combined with that, the sort of wild, grassy smokiness of Mezcal is perfect. That said, the same formula can work very well with an Isla malt, an Islands malt, something that's even maybe slightly less peaty and iodine-y, but still has that maritime character. Works great. I have yet to find a spirit category or that Montenegro does not work with, and I've tried very hard. Goes beautifully with gin. It makes sense. Goes great with many different types of whiskey, aged rum, light rum. I'll float a half ounce of Amaro Montenegro in a daiquiri, in a margarita, things like that. But it does shine very well with whiskey. And I'm actually going to uncork a gift that I was given.
All right.
This is, I don't know if you can see this. This is the old-fashioned cocktail made famous from Dante in New York City. Famous cocktail bar and restaurant. This is their old-fashioned to go. Their sort of pandemic special. I was there last week and was given this. So this is rye, and Montenegro goes really, really well with rye.
Yeah.
Those the very dry kind of spicy notes, and oftentimes you get a sort of like dried citrus and green notes from rye. Montenegro really plays well with that. So it's rye, Montenegro, and salt, a little bit of saline, just to kind of pull all the flavors out. It's pretty delicious.
That sounds really good. So this again is the bottled cocktail, and so it already has the Montenegro in it. It's in the rye, the Montenegro, and the saline. Amazing.
Yeah. So thank you, my friends at Dante.
Yes, Dante, nice. So that becomes kind of that rather than the simple syrup and everything, that becomes the base for that old fashioned. That's incredible.
Yeah, and that's the beautiful thing about Montenegro is that it's got enough sweetness. I mean, it's 23% alcohol, so it's never going to be overwhelming in a cocktail. It's just a little higher than most vermouths, but it's got enough sweetness that it can be used in place of simple syrup, and then has all these other flavors just kind of streaming in behind it. So whether it's an old fashioned, it can replace the bitters and the simple syrup. We do the Monty Manhattan, which is essentially a reverse Manhattan. So two parts of Amaro Montenegro to one part of whatever whiskey you choose. It works brilliantly. It's really, really delicious.
That sounds so good. That sounds like an amazing cocktail. M&M, someone's asking again. It's mezcal and Montenegro equal parts. Or you could do a Scotch for the M&M. It just awakens so many things, and I agree. I think it works so well with the rye. I have been experimenting with it in that coffee I told you about, either with Whistle Pig or with Peerless. We really love both of those, or just rye cocktails. It can that spiciness of the rye just works so beautifully with the sweetness. Someone also just asked, they're curious about Montenegro and cigar pairings, the Daily Ash, some friends of ours that have a cigar blog there. I think, I like cigars. I think Montenegro would be just perfect with a cigar. I think it'd be really
good. It really is. And actually, you probably can't see it, but on the label of the old fashioned is it looks like a Cohiba, but it says Dante NYC. So there's a cigar sitting in an ashtray. So obviously this drink is meant to complement a cigar or vice versa. Montenegro works very well with cigars, and it makes sense. It's got, like a rum would, it has that little bit of round sweetness, or, a real fleshy bourbon. It's got that kind of round sweetness. But then all the herbaceous flavors and that little bit of bitterness, I think, kind of complements, depending on, what type of cigar is being smoked. But I've smoked plenty of Romeo and Juliets and some other, some Robustos, and it works really, really well.
Absolutely. I think that the perfect combination for Amaro Montenegro is Sigaro Toscano. You know that we have a big tradition in Tuscany about these small cigars that are pretty intense, with tobacco harvested in Tuscany under the sun of Tuscany. Is, in my opinion, a really good combination.
Oh, yeah.
Coincidentally, Marco, go ahead, Cristina. Go ahead.
My father's an avid cigar smoker.
Yeah.
His new thing during quarantine has been cigar, guitar, and Montenegro every night.
Sounds cool.
Cigar, guitar, Montenegro. I met the people from Toscano Cigars last year in Vegas, and they are very nice. I like it's cool. They make them in Italy. The way they roll them, they're very nice. They have some grappa infused and some coffee infused ones, and they're really good. They're really good with the Montenegro. That's cool. Yeah.
Tom, what kind of cigar would you pair with a glass of Montenegro?
Well, because it could go so well with so many different cigars, I would probably do something that's kind of medium to bold. I like medium to bold cigars, but even sweeter cigars, I could see how it could really accentuate the sweetness, or if the medium just really give a nice backing to to really accentuate the earth, the spicy characteristics. I'm gonna have to try it with a few and let you know, because I think that just a pour on the rocks would be something so nice to do with a cigar.
Well, up here I live up in the woods in northwestern New Jersey, and we're fond of a little known brand. It's known as Backwoods. Not sure if you've ever seen that. You can see it behind the counter at the cashier at the deli. Just rip open the pouch. Rustic. It's very nice.
Yeah, no, they're fun cigars. We actually do every Saturday night. We do a cigar Saturday. So we do these all week long on BourbonBlog Live, and then still on the same website, we do Cigar Saturday on Saturday nights to do pairings and to interview everyone from some actors. We've had some wrestlers on, a variety of people who really are big fans of cigars. So maybe this Saturday I'm going to get a bottle of Montenegro and pair it with my cigar. I'll let you know what I use. But great question from the Daily Ash, because all these spirits can pair so nicely with food, with other drinks. I think it's just, these are all, we can explore, whether it's the Select, whether it's the Montenegro. There's so many ways we can explore these that are so beautiful. With regard to the brandy, who wants to describe the brandy?
I will happily do it.
Marco was going to jump on that.
Is Marco,
please do it. I want to make sure that all the followers of Tom will understand what's going on.
And I have to say the bottle is just. I feel like I've walked back in time. I mean, with all the brandy bottle is just so beautiful, and it feels like something.
I'm glad you like it.
So special.
And also Ted as a Trebotti, that is the new release. Yeah.
I'm cracking open one of the first bottles of Trebotti in the country, actually.
Special news you guys have, right?
Yeah. There we go.
Before he starts, Select and Vecchia Romagna are very new to the United States. I mean, honestly, they've been kind of Italy's best kept secret up until this point.
Okay.
Montenegro's a little bit more.
How new are Select and Vecchia to the U.S.?
Select got brought in late 2018, and given COVID and everything that's happened, we haven't really. This is the first time we're really introducing it into the market, and our brandy now for the first time will be available. As Tad said, he has one of the first bottles of Trebotti. I'm very jealous.
Wow. Yeah. Whereas the Amaro had been in the U.S. for quite some time.
I've already gone through maybe a couple. R&D.
I'll send you my address.
Consider that the history between Vecchia Romagna and United States is really long. And consider also that Vecchia Romagna is a big brand in Italy. Actually, we are the market leader in the brandy category, and we have 100% of distribution. So this means that anywhere you go in Italy, you can find Vecchia Romagna, which is pretty massive. Yeah.
So everyone listening at home, if you want to flex your bar skills and your bar knowledge, these are two brands to look out for.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent.
Yeah. So Vecchia Romagna is a very, very cool brand. It's got a long history in the States with Etiquetta Nera, as Marco was saying, or Black Label, and that's the sort of everyday drinker, the one that we generally recommend for cocktails too. It's delicious and tropical and lush and rich, but it's got sort of broad shoulders. It's got a little attitude. It's a scrapper. But very, very delicious in its own right. And then we have Vecchia Romagna, then we have Tre Botti, which is something very, very cool and very new. But the history is very cool with this brand. Vecchia Romagna, super Italian products, very, very Italian brand. Vecchia Romagna means old Romagna, sort of paying homage to the area in and around Bologna, where it's made. And it's very Italian, but the original owners, the creators of Vecchia Romagna were cognac producers in the Charente. So French cognac producers, a French family. They produced actually for the court of Napoleon, cognac and other liqueurs. And then when Napoleon's reign ended, the fall of Napoleon, anybody associated with Napoleon had to get the hell out of there. And so one of the sons, the one who was kind of leading the charge for the business at the time, moved, wanted to find a place where he could make an equivalently great cognac, moved to Bologna, found Emilia Romagna, very, very similar terroir, almost exactly the same. And they happened to grow the same grape as was used in cognac. In France, it was called Ugni Blanc, but it's from Italy and it's called Trebbiano. But understood that he had, just hectares and hectares and hectares and hectares of these beautiful vineyards growing Trebbiano, the perfect wine for the brandy. So moved to Bologna, fell in love with the city. Actually, his name was Jean Bouton, Bouton. Opened a distillery and called it Distilleria Giovanni Bouton, Bouton. So really actually Italianized his name and created what was called Cognac Bouton. And it became world famous, very, very beloved brand, and it became very Italian. In 1939, it was called the Agreement of Madrid, decreed that no product outside of France could use the word cognac on its label. So in a bold move, they changed the name to Vecchia Romagna, created the bottle that's become the signature, the three-sided bottle, to become very unique and set it very far apart from cognac, and then added Bacchus on the label. And so the image of Bacchus has become the mascot or the icon on all the bottles since then. And it's very cool brandy. It's, very like French in its provenance and in tradition, but Italian in innovation. It was the first steam distillery set up in Italy to make cognac, and prior to that, cognac had always been made in direct fired alembic stills. With the beginnings of cognac, Bouton cognac, it was steam distilled, so everything was wrapped in heat, created like rounder flavors, a little more aromatics, more consistency as well, and just took off from there. So Vecchia Romagna is actually made, all the marks for Vecchia Romagna are made using a combination of traditional alembic pot still and column still. So the column still gives kind of fresh, bright, vibrant flavors. And then the pot still brandy, obviously, all the whiskey, everybody knows about pot stills. You know what you get out of a pot still, yeah. Real deep character. So with Vecchia Romagna, we get a combination of both. And the older the brandy, or the more special the brandy, obviously the more the blend is going to be the pot still. But for Etiquetta Nera and some of the younger brandies especially, you get a lot of this bright, vibrant, fresh brandy as well. And it really creates this really cool flavor profile. And I think what you get, especially with Tre Botti, is this cognac sensibility. So it would very much please cognac drinkers, but it's bone dry. A lot of cognacs have residual sweetness or have some sweetness, and sometimes it's almost too fat. You get all the fat flavors, but it's bone dry. It's really really cool.
And again, that's the Tre Botti. And about how old is the Tre Botti?
The Tre Botti is a blend of brandies that are up to 15 years old.
Up to 15.
And most of the brandy in the bottle is between 10 and 15 years old.
10 and 15.
So you've got some really mature brandy. It's, XO level, really good XO level cognac for a great value. And again, part of that secret is the three different barrels. We use American and French oak barriques, and then the barrel that formerly held Amarone, that really famous oxidized oxidated, really rich raisiny sort of red wine from Valpolicella, and then these giant ancient Slavonian casks where all the old brandy just sits and sits and sits and sits and sits for 35 years sometimes or longer. There's some really, really old brandies in there too. And so what you get is this beautiful blend of just wide dynamic flavor range, but dry. So nice with nice with cigars as well. Very nice.
Nice with cigars as well. And it's coming out, or it's actually already been released?
It's being released now it's available in select markets right now, and Marco can tell you more, but we're pushing to get it available in other markets around the country.
Actually, we are available in 15 markets now, but by the end of the year, we are going to be available in all the 50 states. And consider that about your question, Etiquetta Nera, which is our signature brandy, is aged at least for 3 years in limousine oak barrel. And I have to apologize for being too much patriotic, but I wanted to say that we are not using the grape from the French, or the French using our grape. Because the original one is Trebbiano di Romagna, which is translated in French as Uni Blanc, but was brought 2,000 years ago from the Romans in France, from the antique Romans in France.
Wow.
So it's a local grape from Emilia Romagna, and it's an extraordinary grape because it can be harvested as a cheap table wine, or can be really elevated for making the best brandy and cognac in the world.
Yeah.
So Uni Blanc or Trebbiano di Romagna is a great grape.
Excellent. So the grape started in Italy, and then it was brought to France as Uni Blanc. But in Italian, the name of the grape again is what?
Trebbiano di Romagna.
Okay.
Consider that I don't remember exactly, but in Italy we have a few hundreds of different variety of local grapes, and most of them are DOC because, as you know for sure, in Italy we have a really big biodiversity. So, for example, if you drive from Bologna, which is in Emilia, to the Adriatic coast, which is 25 miles, you have a different environment, you have a different landscape, you have a different terroir. It's really interesting how everything changed in 20 miles. Even people look different. I don't know why, but whatever.
Excellent. I really like the Vecchia. I'm trying the original, the 3+ year old. This is just, it's full of flavor. I mean, again, it's 3 to 4 years old, or what is it, kind of 3 to 5? To be that age. I mean, again, it has a ton of flavor. I mean, I really like just all the deep milk chocolate notes, a little of the raisin notes. It does remind me of some cognacs I've had. I've had probably more French brandy than Italian brandy, but this is so interesting. I mean, it's such an interesting product. So I can imagine the Tre Bottes, is how you say it?
Tre Botti, 3-barrel.
Tre Botti is just going to be incredible. What's the suggested price on the Tre Botti?
The suggested price is around the $35 bottle on the shelf, the RSP. And consider that also at the beginning of 2021, we are launching a special edition of 200 years old, but it's going to be a blend of vintage of rare cask that is going to be combined together. So that one is going to be quite more expensive, and it's going to be a limited edition.
A very limited edition will be released in just a few months then, or?
Yeah, just in a few months to celebrate the second century anniversary. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
200 years old. I mean, it's interesting. The ones from 1820, and then the first one we had was the Select is 1920. Is there something about every 100 years you guys do something, or what?
Well, no, Amaro Montenegro screws it all up by being
Right
released
in the middle.
in 1885. Yeah.
Well, now
if that's the case, yeah. See, now we're releasing the 200 anniversary in 2020.
You're right.
And then
in 2085, you got to do something else just to let it keep flowing, right? You got to.
I'll be there for that one, Tom.
We gotta make that happen. These are all beautiful, and I love the suggestion of all three Select, Amaro Montenegro, and the Vecchia as sort of a Boulevardier. Would you use about equal parts? Is that what you would do, or a little more of one? Or
I personally might bring up the Select a little bit just to gain a little more bitterness.
Okay.
But Ted, what would you do? That's just my preference.
It depends what you're using. I think when we use Select in a Negroni, Select is slightly less bitter, slightly less astringent than Campari is. It's just it's a different product, different flavor profile. So when you're making a Negroni, if you're making it in standard proportions with a big beefy London dry gin, Select can get overshadowed a little bit washed out. So maybe if I'm making a Negroni with a big gin, I'll back down slightly on the gin, maybe by a quarter of an ounce or something like that. With a Boulevardier, if obviously you don't want to use a big overproof whiskey. Nothing that's super sharp. So something that maybe is a little weeded or something that's a little softer. Then you do equal proportions. But maybe you go 1.25 ounces of Select instead of 1 ounce to your same ratios of whiskey.
Excellent. That sounds. I'm gonna have to try this a little while. That sounds really delicious, and so many possibilities. Again, the possibilities we've created with Montenegro just the last several months. It's been such a fun spirit to mix with, and just to taste. I can't wait to try these others. And very exciting news about Tre Botti. That's going to be really fun to try as well. Someone was asking markets these are available in. Most of these three flagship products, are they in most all markets across the U.S.?
Okay, Amaro Montenegro is in all the 50 states, so we have 100% of distribution. With Select, we just miss a couple of states. With Vecchia Romagna, it's going to be the same situation of Select, but again, by the end of the year, we're going to be everywhere. But if somebody is looking for our products, please send me an email at marco.montefiori@montenegro.it, and I will be more than happy to tell you where you can find our products. And also, we are arriving with a new item that is Rosantique. Rosantique is a vermouth from Turin. It's a great product, and it's going to be available at the beginning of January 2021.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And the name of the product is called what again?
Rosantique. But it means vintage red.
And that will be 2021 starting.
2021, but consider that Rosantique is a brand with a lot of heritage in Italy. Used to be back in the day the #1 fortified wine / vermouth in Italy. So it's a brand with a lot of history and a lot of heritage. But I don't want to talk too much about Rosantique. Otherwise, the next time you will invite us, we don't have anything to tell you. So I don't want to reveal everything now. So.
We can always find more to talk about. And
always more to talk about.
We'll do a pairing. Maybe we'll even get a few of the Toscanos out and try it with some of these or something like that. We can always find more. I mean, there's always more cocktails. You guys are amazing. You guys are an incredible team, and your products are great. Your events have always been amazing. All the ones we've been to across the country, they've always been delightful, artistic, very creative. You're just a very forward-thinking company.
That's
Thank
Marco.
you.
That's all Marco.
It's a teamwork, so thank you so much. Yeah,
Absolutely. No, you're welcome. Prego.
Grazie.
Well done. Well done. So again, it's Gruppo Montenegro. We tried the first one to try. Again, if you all were just joining us, is the Select, the Apertivo, and then we tried the Amaro Montenegro, and then we tried the Vecchia Romagna, and the Tre Botti is coming soon. Be looking for that, and hopefully we'll be seeing all three of you at some point when things are a little better in the world at some more events. Cristina Berardi, Tad Carducci, and Marco Montefiori. I never had this much fun saying three names, but there you go.
Can I say yours?
You go ahead, please.
Tom Fsicher.
That's right. And we created the new cocktail, the BourbonBlog.
I love it.
I love it.
absolutely.
Ciao, friends. Thanks so much for joining us, and thanks to everyone who watched. We really appreciate you all. Thanks, Gruppo.
Ciao and cheers.
Bye, everybody.